So the standards that we may have had in mind for them that were given to us, perhaps we have failed in being able to hand that over to them.
Some of it, there was a kind of little element, a tinge of resentment, but there was very much a case of, well, if they can have that, if they've got to a point where they can now have their own superhero, well, maybe we should be pushing a bit harder.
We do need to own our own schools and colleges and universities because knowledge is power.
Organize, sit down, reason and talk.
Aquaba to another ORT where the panelists have the delight of discussing that much repeated phrase within our community. Look at the Indians.
Can you hear me?
I can hear everybody.
I hear that voice.
Greetings.
Anthony.
Greetings, family. I'm back. I beat the COVID. I crushed it.
Good to see you.
Yes, man.
We missed you.
I missed you guys. I would have rather been here than.
Greatly missed, Stephanie.
Thank you. I'm back.
But you're good, though.
Yes, beat the COVID. I'm back. I'm fine now.
Good to hear it.
Yeah, the two of us here challenging each other. Who's got the COVID? Both of us here with COVID. But I'm back. Pleased to be back. Raring to go.
Well, you're sounding good voice. I'm taking that, You kicked it.
I did. Thank you. I did, yes. And giving thanks for it too.
Yes. So welcome to another ORT, Aquaba to you all, the show of love and light. And as per usual, I'm pleased to say we have our voice of compassion, Every Harmony.
Greetings, listeners. Greetings, panel.
Our king of one-liners, Brother S.
Greetings, brothers. Greetings, sisters. Greetings, people.
And our eye of analysis, Kindred Spirit.
Greetings, audience, and welcome back, Ebony.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I'm your host, Baba Kush. What's been catching the eye of any of you? Which one wants to put their toe in the water first?
Well, I'll put my toe in first. For me, it's the climate change conference and all things climate change has really been catching my eye. Just in so much as what do we as a community, or how do we contribute? How far are we thinking ahead in terms of what we're leaving our children and grandchildren to, and what are we doing about it? What part are we playing as a community? So that's why it kind of sprung to mind. Yeah, provoked my thinking in that direction.
Thank you. Any other points?
Most recently, what caught my eye is the cricket debacle concerning the young man Azim Rafiq, the Essex or former Essex player who has come out and spoken to his experience of racism within cricket, not just for him, but I guess in the wider scheme of things. Been quite interesting, not surprising, but interesting, and I've just been a bit caught up in that to see how this is going to pan out in the sport, what measures they're going to take to redress this issue, or is it just smoke and bluster for now, and then his call disappears into the quiet like these things tend to do.
Yes, it's a thought-provoking situation, definitely. Thank you. Kindred, has your eyes been shut since the last time we spoke?
Yeah, my news embargo is still in force. And I'm keeping it there for a little while longer. But the two stories that my fellow panelists have raised are ones that I'm conscious of, and they have been very, very vaguely on my radar, so I'm aware of them, but I haven't dug too deep.
Yeah, definitely. I saw on social media that comedian Johnny Handsome, otherwise known as Comic Pierre, he said that in response to some backlash that Chris Rock had got by advocating that black people should take the vaccine, Comic Pierre said that he was in agreement with Chris Rock because black people have the worst diet going and they cannot address their diet, so they must take the vaccine, which I thought was a very interesting comment because it seemed to let the processed food company and the industrial diet off the hook by just accepting this blood pressure and diabetes situation that faces our people as being almost a de facto situation where there's no point in addressing it, just take the vaccine. And that's not because I'm an anti-vax, I just thought it was an interesting response that seemed to let certain people off the hook.
Indeed.
So that has been one of the things that caught my eye. And really an announcement to make, that the young person that does the ad, and I should have done this announcement a few weeks ago actually, the ad where she says Sunrise Organic Sea Moss, who say you can't drink sunshine. So her father died. Her father died about I think about 6 weeks now.
6 weeks,
yeah, and he's somebody I spoke to quite regularly in Jamaica. And out of the blue, he apparently developed I think it was a kidney problem, and then he went into hospital.
You've got a poor line there.
Okay.
You're fading out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sort of third word. Yeah.
I'll speak closer to the mic. Yeah, so he developed out of the blue a kidney problem, which resulted in him having to go into hospital. He went to the hospital and caught COVID and died. And this was just very sudden. I mean, somebody who I spoke to every couple of weeks. So his name is Rumpel, and he is a roadie for Beres Hammond. He's been a roadie for a number of decades for Beres Hammond. So yes, I have to say, rising power to Rumpel, really,
100%.
and family.
Yeah.
Very good friend of mine.
A lovely person he was too.
And the girl is only 14, so she's lost her dad at a very young age.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thoughts and prayers to her and the family and our condolences too.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And our topic for today is look upon the Indian. Probably the most repeated 4 words when black people get together. I could be wrong. But before that, we have our quiz. And I see once again, you see black people on the truth to farm. No, ask about Marley. It's just so consistent. There's research, it just keeps on, reaffirming certain positions, that we have.
Oh, dear.
What I'm going to show you is that
Dreadful.
we are conspicuous in our silence.
You understand?
We're not even we're not even leaving it that we should read between the lines.
You understand?
Right?
We
We not care about the dog.
Not unless
Don't care about the dog.
not unless Mr. China serve it up, right?
Unless Mr. China serve it. The two sweet and sour. And couple dim sum.
You understand? So what's been thrown up in my latest research with Marley is that him have this thing where him like to run out into the road. So him actually run away Sunday, and we got him back Sunday. But before that, him run.
Oh dear.
Yes. Oh dear, run well. Oh dear, we get him back.
Oh dear, you get it back.
Let me tell you, the wonders of the microchip.
Not run.
It's the wonders of the microchip, man. So all you anti-vaxxers and pro-vaxxers, there are benefits to having a microchip implanted. So yes, so he's been, him have this thing, which I'm training out of him, which is to run out in the road. So one day I brought him back, catch him by him lead down the road, catch him by him collar down the road, and I bring him back, and that is a Rottweiler, and Rottweiler is a black, so and he's male. So I had to give him the blackmail talk that you can't just run anywhere you want, run in this world, Anything can happen to you. Worse if the police catch you. You understand? You're a blackmailer. Don't you ever forget that.
Truth be told, it's stand my chance with me, really,
Tell you. So, yes, the research continues. So we have our quiz.
You
Sorry.
appreciate our consistency, Kush.
Well, listen.
You appreciate that.
Listen, you're as consistent
funny.
as high blood pressure and diabetes in black people.
Make it clear so we're not business.
Yeah. Thank you for your forthrightedness.
At least there are no mixed messages there.
You see me? You see me? Oh yes, and I just wanted to give a quick plug to the movie The Harder They Fall. So it's on Netflix. It's worth a watch.
Yeah, that's on my list. I haven't caught it yet.
Okay.
Good movie.
And King Richard is out this week too.
Okay. And where's that? General release?
It's released tomorrow, isn't it? Yeah, I think it's general release tomorrow.
Okay, we'll look out for that. Well, on to today's...
And also sorry.
Go ahead, sir.
Also, to look out, I'm going to pick up Sylvia's Love.
Sylvia's
Film called Sylvia's Love.
Okay.
It's a black drama, but it also highlights black love and
Okay.
Pain and love and redemption, and I just thought it was a very classy movie. It's a good watch.
Nice.
What platform did you watch it on?
You know what? I can't remember if it was Netflix or what, but
Amazon,
in between one of them, I found it, and we had a good watch. And,
Cool.
Really classy film. Sylvia's Love.
Sylvia's Love. All right, we've got that. So on to today's quiz, and I know I'm with some of the sharpest minds when it comes on to matters related to melanated people. People, are you ready? No. Oh Lord. It's question 1. What D are people particular?
Can't hear you, Kush.
Oh, you can't hear me now?
Nice.
I don't know what's happening there. So what D are black people particular about certain other people making for them? What D?
Dumpling.
Yes!
We don't eat them from strangers.
All I'm gonna say is the foodies generally get a quick response. Yes, boiled or fried, people are suspicious of who made the dumpling then.
No, hold on. I'm not letting you just get away with that, because if this is a suspicion that is prevalent,
Yes.
surely somebody needs to own where the root of this comes from.
True.
No, not the root of the dumpling, the root of the suspicion.
The suspicion, yes. I'm saying good point. I mean, maybe this is something I can attach onto the research I'm doing with Marley. Maybe we can also get to the bottom of the what kind of dumpling phobia that exists.
Maybe we can put it out to the listeners.
Yes.
What is the issue?
Yeah,
What is
good
the
idea.
issue?
Yes.
Where is the root of the suspicion? Yeah.
Yes. Answers in the comment section. Why are some people hesitant to have dumplings from any and anybody? Question 2. Britain ran Christian South Sudan, a country with a population of 9 million, with how many in the British administration out of these?
We'll lock you again.
Ooh,
Okay.
yeah. good.
So Britain ran South Sudan, Christian south of the country, with a population of 9 million, with how many in the British administration out of these three answers? 140, 570, or 1100?
We still missed part of the
Yeah, didn't get the yeah.
Okay, so there was a population of Sudan with 9 million people. How many during the British Empire? How many in the British administration were needed to run the country? Out of these four answers, 140, 570, or 1100?
9 million people.
This is going to be a complete guess for me, I have to admit.
Yeah, same here, Keith. That's a very strange question. I'm going to go 1100.
1100?
I'll go
I'm going to.
500.
Me too. I'm going to sit in the middle.
570?
I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Both very good answers. The correct answer is 140.
Can you imagine?
No.
Oh yes. Sharpen piece of stick and run them out of the house. That was the idea. Make them think that we began bad. Question 3. Which musician and artist sadly had at least 8 concert goers to his recent concert who died from crushing?
Oh, that was
Yeah, it's Travis Scott, no?
yes.
Exactamente,
Yes, it is.
brothers.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now facing multiple lawsuits from family members who advised that Travis Scott had been warned of the impending situation at the Astroworld venue but did not act upon the information.
Dear.
Question 4.
Oh dear.
In an episode of Flog It, British TV antique series, Larry, a middle-aged white man, brought an extremely ornate brooch that had... You make me laugh, man. Bought an extremely ornate brooch that had been in his family for 4 generations for valuing. After examining the brooch, the expert tells him it's worth £1,500. Larry says with pure delight, "Really? I never thought it would be worth that much." What would a black person say if they were Larry?
Over to you, panel.
It was a tease.
Did I say what?
2000.
No, that's a good one, but that's not what I wrote.
So much? Sell it!
That's another good one. I can see that happening. The answer I wrote, and you could have challenged this, is and that alone you call me pan big television for £1,500. Eh? One little source of £1,500 you call me pan television. What you doing? Question 5. If a parent is giving you licks, what are the reasons they say they're doing it for?
Your ears too hard.
Yes, that's a good one. Not the main one.
Hardy's picnic.
Must feel.
Go sit down. As they whip you, they can't keep still, much less sit down.
My parents are white. I was never
And
hit.
also,
I'm telling you now.
they talk and talk so till they tired.
But they had not tired. Very good answers. Very good answers. But the ones that I was looking for was, I'm doing it for your own good, and I'm doing it because I love you.
Oh.
You never get that, you know.
You never get that one? That beat because me love
Sit down.
you. As a matter of fact, because me love you, go for the belt.
My daddy said one time, better me bang you than police.
There you go. There you go.
Make sense of that, eh? Make sense of that. 8 years old. Better me bang it than police.
I think we need a few more of those fathers these days.
It's still with you though, right? And guide you too.
I'll turn that all
Yes.
right.
Yes.
And you cherish that memory, don't you, brother Ed? You cherish
I'll
that
turn that
memory.
all right.
Yes.
Certainly stayed with him, that's for sure.
Yes. Weekly, he cherishes weekly with a shot of his pleasure. Which Caribbean island is getting rid of the so-called queen as the head of state? Which Caribbean island is getting rid of the so-called queen as a head of state?
It's not Barbados. Is it?
Oh, what a shot!
Recently, Barbados.
With the election of Barbados' first president on the 30th of November, when the Caribbean island becomes a republic, Queen Elizabeth will no longer be the head of state.
That's right. You're ready.
Big up, the Bay John Brethrens. I was tracing my ancestry. I think I was born in Barbados, so you know. I'm part of the rebel stock.
Oh, please.
And today's topic, look upon the Indian. Just distracted here. Which Jamaican Indian artist sung Mud Up?
It did what?
Which Jamaican Indian artist sung the song Mud Up?
Would that be Shawnee Paul? No. The other one,
The other one.
what's his name again?
Oh, yeah, no.
Shame on you. Is it because it's Indian they don't count?
What's his name again? It is
Putting out on all the miseries.
Oh, God.
Apache
Give
Indian.
us another clue.
Was not Apache Indian.
Give you another
Not so far back. No.
Apache Indian, I think he's from England. Give you another clue. What clue? They refer to him. One of his nicknames is the Wild Apache.
Did he do Ragamuffin? No, that was Apache Indian again.
He was involved in the murder of Nitty Gritty. I will put you out your misery. Is it Super Cat?
Yes, it's Super Cat.
It's Super Cat.
Yeah.
That's right. Hailing
His name. I could see him, but I couldn't say his name.
the Alzheimer's, man. The Alzheimer's. Hailing from Cockbird Pen, aka Indian City, due to its high number of Indian residents, Super Cat became a leading DJ with Mud Up being one of his hits, and we'll play that out and we'll see you on the other side. Now this one dedicated to all the parts of them who jump up. Dedicated to all the man them who wake up and push up. And dedicated to the girl them who no mother. Take a Mr. Cat because you come from mash it up. Anywhere you go it up y'all and pull up. This way Mr. Cat because him well dangerous. Me say Mud Up italic and italic and italic. Me say Mud Up italic it and rip up a market. Me say Mud Up italic it and the latest lyrics. Come to the place and take up the mic and fling for your lyrics. Me say if you think I lie you want to outlaw manics. Come and listen Mr. Cat and me not talk on me.
This is ORT.
It's to Live Not to Die presents the world's first alkaline festival in the UK. Come and enjoy yourselves with your family and friends the Alkaline Way. On this day, we're also honoring the born day of the late Dr. Sebi. He would have turned 88 years the day before the event, 26th November 1933. So come and celebrate his life with us. On the day, there will be alkaline foods and beverages, market stalls, health products, children's activities, raffles and giveaways, live music, good vibes, and much more. Children under 10 have free entry. Location: Climate Emergency Center, 706-720 High Road, 7 Kings, Ilford, IG3 83S, UK. The nearest stations, Seven Kings and Good Maize Station. There will be 153 car park spaces, so be sure to get there on time to secure your space. The Alkaline Festival opens its doors on Saturday 27th November 2021, 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. First 50 people to arrive on the day will receive a free meal and 50% off our new book. Get your ticket at itstolivenotodie.com. See you there.
ORT. This show is sponsored by Sunrise Organic Sea Moss. Who say can drink sunshine? ORT. We do it cause we love you.
Look on the Indian. That was the topic of this week's ORT, but unfortunately we had some gremlins that resulted in us losing some of the recordings. Positively, however, myself and Ebony Harmony will be filling in some of the blanks, covering some of the points that were raised by herself, Kindred Spirit, and Brother S. This week's topic, look on the Indian. But before we got into the debate, we listened to a recording of a brother giving us some information about the treatment of some of our peoples during slavery. Now, more and more stuff comes out on this topic, but this one is of particular interest. So take a listen to this.
You see, white women had become a problem in colonial Virginia. Some were married young and were pissed off at the older men they were forced to marry. Some were frustrated from just being a woman in colonial Virginia. While most were pissed off at the caramel-colored babies running around their plantation wearing their husbands' faces. You see, slavery was a white man's sexual fantasy come to life. It was his own sexual playground, to do with these enslaved women as he pleased. There was no such thing as a consensual relationship between an enslaver and the enslaved. So whenever he wanted it, he got it from whomever he wanted, be it male, female, enslaved, or not. And this pissed a lot of rich white women off, to have a husband who's no longer sexually attracted to you, but is out making 6, 10, 12, 15 kids with some enslaved African woman. So these white women would take out their frustrations on the bodies of these innocent children who did nothing more than simply exist. You ever watch Looney Tunes or Tex Avery cartoons and you see somebody get hit in the head with a frying pan, hit in the head with a rolling pin, had hot water poured on them, had hot grease poured on them, poke them in the eye, Three Stooges style? These are the things that rich white women would do to these caramel-colored babies. So many mixed-race babies were being killed at the hands of white women that something had to be done, because you couldn't arrest a white woman because that's just simply unheard of. So in October of 1669, King Charles II of England created the Casual Killing Act. Pause to read. In so many words, it says that any slave who resists his master, mistress, or overseer and is killed because you resisted correction, then the person who killed you gets away scot-free. And this was created in order to prevent white women from seeing any punishment from killing innocent black babies.
Yeah, so that was the recording that we listened to, Ebony, isn't that correct?
It was indeed, yes, and provoked quite a discussion, but I think we were all of a unanimous view on this one.
Mm-hmm. Which was that in understanding the history of slavery, it also needs to be looked at through different genders, and quite often white women have got away scot-free for their benefits of slavery, their perpetuation of slavery, their treatment of black people during slavery. And yes, I'm sure there was a point about feminists, black feminists.
Well, I think before we got there was, just following on for what you were saying, it was in regards to this act itself, which was the 1669 Act, which was put in place by Charles III, second King of England. So despite the heinous crimes enacted on these children by these white women, a law was made, but the law law was about justifying.
We did say that.
It was about justifying what they were doing. There was not any actual punishment for, and there were.
Well, it was a law of protection for white women.
Well, indeed it was. I mean, Karenism is was always there, but here we have a law protecting them and justifying, because all it need to be said was that the slave was resistant or not following,
Which the brother, in the video, the brother made the point that somehow filters into policing.
Absolutely.
Because to get a black person killed, white women only had to say he wasn't obeying.
Absolutely.
He was resisting.
Absolutely.
I think was the phrase. And so now when you resist arrest, it's like the same thing now, but the police now becomes the executioner. But quickly, just moving on, and the other point where in relation to that was trying to understand how black feminists have not been more thorough in their assessment of whether or not they should align themselves with white women who struggle for power is completely different, because they have different histories, including this one. And then we went on to start to discuss Look on the Indian. And why did this topic come about? This topic came about because it's a phrase that we've all been up close and personal to. We've all said it at some point. It's a bit like pork. When you're small, everybody eat pork. Oh God!
Some of us can't remember, but sure, your parents gave it to us.
They make sure, They make sure. So we've all used this phrase,
I certainly heard it by our elders. Heard it in our growing up and upbringing.
So that's why it was a topic of choice this week, and some of the things that we've lost in the Gremlin attack. I think a James Bond. Jealousy gets you nowhere.
And I think my starting point was a little bit of bemusement, really, as to understanding where that utterance became a point of reference for us as a community and as as an African nation, because community mindedness, I was saying, was central to our culture, to our existence. It takes a village and so forth to raise a child and so forth. So that was central to us, our ethos, our liberty, and everything. So it was a little bit bemusing for me as to why that became.
What was the start point?
And even if we move back, I mean, I'm talking about from our ancestors and our existence, but then I went on to talk about it being here with us through Marcus Garvey. That was his philosophy. If we look at Malcolm X and Dr. Umar Johnson and things it's always with us. So it's a little bit puzzling for me as to why do we keep reaching out there as a point of reference, as if we don't have that with us.
It reminds me of that story where apparently, please don't I'm going to put it, don't kill me for getting it not completely right, but there's a story of a woman putting a turkey into a certain size pan in the oven, and every year she struggled to get it into the pan, and them asked her why she keep on use that same size pan. So she said she's something what she see her mother used to do. So fortunately her mother is still alive, so the person asked the mother, and the mother said it's something what she see for her mother do. So then go to the grandmother and them ask her why she use that size pan, and she says the only size pan she did have.
The moral of that story,
some things just become learned behavior, and we don't examine it, unfortunately.
And isn't it interesting? There's an argument there to say that learned behavior is almost selective, because if we look at what I said, my perspective of what our starting point, why wasn't that a learned behavior for us?
Why we never learn the good things? love sweets, man. We love too much sweets.
Shiny things.
Yeah, so what other points came up from Kindred and Brothers in relation to look upon the Indian?
Yeah, I think our brother and sister, some of the things they were saying, their viewpoint was, I think Brother S was mentioned that whilst he acknowledged that it was something that was said and perhaps heard and what have you, he didn't actually think it was a form of behaviour or utterance across recognised, as a kind of like persistent existence. It wasn't something that he felt was said, broadly among us, or regularly, shall I say. And essentially he was saying it didn't happen so much in his circle, but he recognised that, it was something that was said out there. I think some of the discussion also from our brother and sister was that some things we don't do is we don't look at ourselves. That's a large part of our discussion, that we don't look at ourselves, and
we don't look at ourselves.
And then there's general discussion also about it, there being a lack of knowledge, and not speaking about ourselves as successful black people or black community.
You mean currently now, or in terms of the past, looking back at like
I think
Tulsa?
I think the point that Brother S was making was currently. Because if you remember, he was saying he felt that we would struggle to find some, positive black examples of from our communities, black brothers and sisters, business people, and so forth. We would struggle to find them. Whereas I don't think there would be a struggle, but perhaps we're lazy in looking. We take the easy way out because we can find reams.
Now back to the debate.
Or about being inclusive and calling themselves British, then the tendency is for them to look at what that means to them through a white or another lens, and then they want to reach for that. So the standards that we may have had in mind for them that were given to us, perhaps we have failed in being able to hand that over to them, enough for them to feel comfortable enough in their own skin that they can go out and perpetuate and promote who they are as black first, rather than identifying as British and looking for success in other cultures.
I wanted to change the discussion slightly and just enter the point that some of this idolizing, let me just put it that way, it may actually be built on a false premise. Indians may be gathering in their 2s, 3s and 4s and say, oh, look at the black people. There may be issues where they think, we were speaking earlier about cricket and some of the racism that has been highlighted by one of our Asian brothers. I mean, we've been doing that for donkeys. So sometimes we may be looking over the fence and thinking that the grass is greener, but actually probably the person over there is looking at our house and our grass and saying, look at the black people.
Yes, look how we can exploit them. Let's open another hair shop.
Basically. Well, we are the canary inside the cage that you send down the coal mine, isn't it, to sniff out the gas?
Where the canary is.
Yeah. When they send the canary down in the coal mine to sniff out where the gas is. Yeah. That's us. So we take it on. We take on the fight.
Yeah.
Right.
But we do have
change it, and then other people then come and capitalize on it.
There is that pattern. But there's also what I'm pointing to is we have successes that we struggle to see, and maybe some other groups we are idolizing Jews, or we are idolizing Indians. Maybe they're sitting there and they're saying, look at what they've achieved. Well, you know what I mean?
That's a very good point, because when the Black Panther film first came out, some of the comments around that from other groups was quite interesting.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I know the Hispanic community in America had some things to say about it. You know, where's our superheroes, and if they can have one, why can't we? And it did generate some very interesting discussion around. Yeah, did you not catch on to that?
Oh, they didn't catch that one.
There was
Good, man.
some of it. There was a kind of little element, a tinge of resentment, but there was very much a case of, well, if they can have that, if they've got to a point where they can now have their own superhero, well, you know, maybe we should be pushing a bit harder.
Yeah.
But there was discussion around that.
I think we're going to struggle amongst our compatriots, continue to struggle amongst them until we own our stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
We need to point to something to say this is what we did. Yeah.
So, any example I give you, if I say music, we don't own it, but everybody tries to imitate us.
Yeah.
Sport, we have sports heroes. People globally idolize us, but we don't own it. Swagger. Anybody got more swagger than black people? Right? Nobody got more swagger than that. But people take it, and we don't own it. Language, dialect, patois, all of that. Right? And those are just a few things. And then there may be the other things that we can do technically. Right? Again, we don't own it. We might try and patent it. Interestingly, I saw a thing about Yamoa powder the other day. Somebody sent me some footage about Yamoa powder.
Yeah, man, thank God.
Right? Yeah. And how the chap had gone off to Black So Welcome and all of the big
Yeah.
and they go about your business, right?
Yeah. And can I just say, just for the listeners, that this was a Ghanaian brother who's using a natural plant to address asthma.
Yes, right? And related conditions. And yet, immediately I watched that, I thought, let me just quickly go on Google it and see if it's out there as a product. And of course it is. And I guarantee you
it's not that
those ones which I saw that were selling on online, I bet you don't get no money for that.
No.
So this is what I'm saying to you. So that has been a historical thing that has also knocked us, knocked the wind out of us. That, boy, even when we come up with some stuff that can change the world, we are difference makers. That has been so for centuries. And yet when we do, it's not acknowledged because somebody else takes it, misappropriates it, owns it, and then says it's theirs. And sells it back to us.
And I guess
why don't
some
we
of that
learn
stuff
that
you're talking about in terms of because I think some of one of the things that we need to own, as brother says, we need to own our own stuff. Sorry, it also needs to be our own schools. We do need to own our own schools and colleges and universities because knowledge is power. And whilst we're still under the regime of this society's education, they're able to trim off the fat of knowledge and the truth and the transparency and teach what they want to teach us. I think if we own our own schools, we can, go surpass the curriculum. We can talk about business. We can talk about, the directions or the processes to go through. For example, this brother who wanted to have his product approved by certain bodies and so forth. So a real broad expanse of knowledge, not just business limited, but a real broad expanse of knowledge that our community can tap into to work the world.
And there's a wonderful. I'm glad that you said that, Sister Ebony, because now we're talking about solutions that we can have that discussion with listeners about. When I think about that directory of black businesses that was forwarded to many of us, right? And I was thinking about, look at that, all of these black businesses that exist. But are they talking to each other? Right? And how often during the course of the year that they could talk to each other and assemble in a forum where they could all network and put in place partnership working, where they could all grow together.
And come away with a plan, not just talk, right?
and their solutions again, right? Yeah, not just talk, but they would be using their business acumen and their experiences of the business world and sharing their levels of expertise about achieving success. Right? And then and saying to other people, come on board, because we know we got a template, we know how to do it, and we're going to welcome you into that so that we can all grow together, as opposed to remaining in their individual success levels of success, but actually we're not growing as a whole.
We need a black dragon's den.
For real.
Each one of the dragon ears have a bamboo stick. We just start talk fart, we just right crossing the face.
And there comes the culture again. Ears too.
We are coming so late. Hardiness is that thing we have to get rid of. What's this? I'm doing it because I love you. Listen, I just wanted to inject something here that maybe it's not always obvious. And I'm not going to say this is a black issue, but we have the highest price to pay for not knowing our history to a sense of competence. And what do I mean by that? In the British Empire, anywhere that the British went, they would take Indians and they would create this sandwich where the white people are on top. They would ensure the Indians are the next layer and the blacks are below them. And I'm not sure that we as a people are intimate with the details of these strategies that have been used to keep us in a position, because sometimes we're saying look at the Indians, but guess what happened? The blockages that black people get, the Indians don't. It was intentional. The doors that were closed for black people were open to Indians. It was an intentional strategy. So when we're looking at Indian people and we're allotting this sense of entrepreneurship, working together, this sense of unity, what we are ignorant of is that actually their initiatives are met with opener arms. I mean, I say fully open arms, but the arms are more open to their initiatives than to ours. And even down to the movie is Judas and the
Black Messiah.
Black Messiah.
And the Black Messiah.
Yeah. So even down to Fred Hampton, they have to kill Fred Hampton. They have to kill him.
Yeah.
And these are the things that black people have faced, where Indian people have not faced it in the West anywhere to the same degree. So when we're saying this phrase and we have this tics, it's like Tourette's syndrome. In a sense, are we communicating how ignorant we are of some of our history and how that history still interplays in our current situation in terms of resolving some of our problems?
It's historically that is true.
Or are we saying part of it unconsciously, or are we implying that we don't know our history enough, and that's why we're giving them plaudits rather than actually being able to tackle the core of the system and how it's dealing with us, rather than idolizing people who are getting a free pass?
Well, definitely that latter, because that was the point that I made at the beginning. 100%. We've let go of our culture. We've lost sight and knowledge of, us, our functioning, our values, Yeah,
but it's more about that's part of it. But the other part is, what I'm saying is, we've arrived at this point because the British, especially when you look at, and some of it came to the surface in Uganda, they intentionally put Indians in between them and African people, and they've done that in the Caribbean islands as well. They would bring in Indians after a number of years, and I don't think that we really understand the implications of these strategies that were brought in. So we may even have some sense of Nani Maroon and other people who have done great things, but systematically we are giving plaudits to people who have been given a free pass. They're not more ingenious than anybody else, is what I'm saying. But actually, the person with the hands on the power is saying, actually, you can come through the door. you can come through the door, Mr. Singh. You can come through. We're not going to let that through. We know there's an inherent dislike of African people from Europeans already, but it's this thing about, in most families, in most homes, can we say that we have an understanding of how the empire worked, how colonialism worked, how imperialism worked, and how it has shaped some of our relationships and how we look at current problems? I'm not quite sure. I know what Ebony said. Ebony's making a great point about education, and maybe this is linked to that, having schools. But we have to be more forensic with our history now, is what I'm saying, in trying to understand how we got to this point, as opposed to just having these blanket phrases that we use that doesn't really tell us much.
No, I would agree with you. I would absolutely agree with you. Definitely that we've got to be more forensic. But I think in understanding that, we also need to understand why, the kind of taking a part of us was. And I think if we understand that, that will also work towards rebuilding us and strengthening our resolve. I mean, because at the end of the day, I think I touched on, the slave owners sold the Africans Christianity as a means of mind control, because we had such strength, such presence, such knowledge, such ability. You have to then break us down, descale us.
But them sell it to India too. Them sell it to India too. Indian sell the same thing, That's why we have all these Anglo-Indians who are Christians. Them get the same thing. Maybe they don't get it in the same way, but they get treated differently. And then we end up idolizing the people who have been treated differently.
Well, put it this way. If we are agreeing that hierarchical structure was put in place, I would argue that it's still in place. And there lies part of the problem about how we view ourselves.
Okay.
Right? Maybe some of us as black people don't think we're worthy, and that's part of the Jedi mind trick.
And this is what I'm saying.
We don't think we're worthy, and until we re-educate ourselves to the point where we can tell our children, and our children recognize that we were kings and queens, that many of the things which are being sold to us as new was ours.
100%. This is what I'm saying. Understand our greatness.
Yeah. Me hear all of that, but we do understand. People can say that. What I'm saying is, there's different. So for a lot of us, when you talk about knowing your history, what we're really talking about is Roots, the film or the book, right? We didn't know much beyond that. We then get to a stage where there are lots of people who have come out and they've spoken about great Zimbabwe, Ghana, Kemet, and all these great things out there, which we have spoken about, and that is important in terms of confidence building. What I'm saying is, when this phrase is being used, people, these are groups where some of the groups I go to, these are people who know their history, What I don't hear people say is how the Indians were propped up and how that has become accepted within our mindset and how we change that. So two things can exist at once. One is you can have your sense of Nani Maroon and all these great things, and you have some levels of confidence, but in reality, when you're doing business, you're struggling because you're still looking at the Indians, not knowing the system that you was involved in. Just like our apartheid is a system, the system creates a legacy that has to be brought to bear. And I don't think that if you ask most African Caribbean or African people about that sandwich effect with the whites on tops, the Indians intentionally in the middle, and then the blacks below, can they speak to that system? Can they say when it came in, who it was who influenced it, how it stopped black businesses from flourishing? Can they speak about Idi Amin, for example, as one of the examples of somebody who tried to stand up and how that was perpetrated? Which is why I say I agree wholeheartedly with what Ebony has said about education, and maybe this is something that we need to educate our people on. But I don't necessarily think, or I haven't seen evidence then, is what I'm saying, of how knowing about the greatness of the pyramid builders has prevented us from still using this phrase. It is still being used by us.
Yeah, it's what Brother S was alluding to about it's the messages that we've internalized, that somehow this is the natural order of being. This is where we've always been. This is where we're supposed to be, and we look upwards at the Indians and up and even further upwards at the white people, and we admire them and marvel at them. They have this magic knowledge and formula that we as a people just don't seem to have, and all we can do is look on in envy. And I think it's one thing to know the greatness and what we achieved and that side of history, but unless you couple that with what went wrong, what upended all of that, and how do we avoid certain pitfalls in the future, then the knowledge of the greatness is of limited value.
Indeed. And if you just think of just the term, it struck a chord with me when you said a couple of times there about, looking upwards. When black people historically in America, here, back in the 54 nations of Africa, back in the Caribbean, we have been told when we have far too often, when we have endeavored to reach, when we have endeavored to aspire, when we've endeavored to prosper. Look at the word. What did they say? They call us uppity.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, listen. When I'm telling you about spelling, right? They call us uppity, and what does that do? Knocks the wind out of us. Yeah. Like I'm just trying to realize this greatness that I have, this talent that I have, right? And I want to be a difference maker, and I want to be a pioneer, and I really want to reach it. And the word is whispered in your ear, even from members of your own community. Yeah. Will be saying to you, but hey, look at him though. Never mind from the Indian. Look at him, and look at her with their uppity ways. So you're damned in some ways if you do, and you're damned if you don't. Because when we hear, nothing hurts us more than when we hear that from our own. When we have to justify trying to reach and be great, and are knocked down by our own. There's, all of this is all part of the spell where, like, what do you do with that? If you can't align yourself, even with your own people, to the point where you're trying to achieve something and be the great thing that we are, that we have been, that we should be again, and then you are not for it, where you're having to question, well, maybe I shouldn't reach then. Maybe I'm kidding myself that I'm great. Maybe this is just all a madness that maybe I'm going a bit mad.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe my mental health is, what was I thinking? How dare me? And so it works when they say, stay in your lane, know your place. And that's another one that we lose to it. Another one that we lose to this spell.
What replacement then could we use? What would we advise as a replacement phrase when black people get together and they want to be able to offer an example of a group or an individual who has achieved whatever you call an achievement? How can we substitute this phraseology?
We take out the book and we say, now which chapter did Marcus talk about that thing there? What was Marcus's advice about that thing there? What was the strategy?
No, good idea. Let's
remind ourselves.
It's a brilliant one, to be honest. It's just when you say take out the book.
Put down the Bible and pick up the book and say, yes, let me just double check what Marcus said about that. Let's make sure we understand it correctly.
And for going back to Ebony's mention of Neely Fuller Jr., somebody who he has worked well with, Dr. Francis Cress Wessling. And to be honest, I would like those works to be more well known within our communities. I think in understanding the problems that we've been speaking about constantly on this show, there is a core that we all need to get in touch with, and that is how the system works psychologically and mentally. It's something that we don't pay enough attention to. And Dr. Chris Wesley and Neely Fuller Jr., even Marcus Garvey, I say even Marcus Garvey. The reason why I say that is because he wasn't directly psychological, but he was indirectly psychological, was pointing to some of the unseen things that still have a grip on us. So it's a very good point that, you know, when you want to look, for example, at least go to Marcus Garvey. He should be kind of like the point of dismissal. Let me get him out the argument for now, and then we can say something more controversial or less well known after. So yeah, very good point. Brother S, Ebony, what would you say as a replacement for you? Look on the Indian. Look how them get on.
I would have to say Marcus Garvey, as I said at the very beginning. It was always there, ancestrally, and as we move through the ages, philosophy, you know, of Marcus Garvey, absolutely. So I second that. Okay. Yeah. Kindred, sister kindred.
Very concrete examples with it.
100%.
You know, in terms of
100%. It's almost instructional.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
I agree with the sisters. I think, you know, if we're going to use a manual in replacement of the manuals which have been force-fed, drip-fed, stuck down our throats, you know, for the longest time, and we have seen that actually all we've done is fight against it, because from children to adults we've been saying this doesn't apply to us. And so we struggle. We are in constant conflict with, but you're here and this is how it's supposed to be done. And we put our hand up and go, but it don't apply to me.
Excuse me, I can need your attention.
Right? So that's going to be an issue that if we can use a constructive manual that pre-exists this manual that we are being force-fed, then why shouldn't we?
Yeah.
With nothing to lose and everything to gain, because the one that's in its place right now that we're using is failing us abysmally.
Yeah, man. Even on a discussion level.
Even on a discussion level,
it can really just zap.
I don't want to hear us saying look pandemic.
As an observation, I've never heard somebody say it and then something constructive has come out of the discussion as a result of them saying. I've never, and maybe that's because of the groups we're in and probably what list, I don't know. But no, maybe some people in the same group, as soon as they say look at me, and all of a sudden things start flourish. I don't know. The persons I've been around for the last few decades, it's never produced anything tangible that you leave thinking, right, this is what we'll be doing this week, lads. We're going to be ready. Yeah. We're going to plant some seeds this week.
It's very worrying when you consider that people are still saying that, and knowing the group that I know you're speaking about, that is a serious concern.
And the thing is, I've grown hearing this phrase as a little boy. Look on Indian. My suggestion is, I agree with Marcus Garvey as a template, which means you have to be familiar with his works, which is one goes with the other. But put down a money pan, and every time you say look pan the Indian, put a £10 or $10 in there. Every time you say, that's just for the community. You can say it,
and before you know it, success.
Right. By time you quit, you can buy a building.
Time you quit.
You understand? You can buy a building and a minivan and buy a corner shop or whatever it is. Put your £10 in the pan. Every time you're free to say it as much as you want. Put your money in the pan.
Price.
Kindred Spirit, Ebony Harmony, Brother S, thank you for lending your mental forces to a very interesting topic once again.
And
thank you very much.
Thank you for your wonderful hosting.
A pleasure, panelists.
Thank you, panelists.
And until the next time, walk good. Take care, everyone.
Bye, brother and sister.
Be blessed.
Stay safe. Stay blessed.
Peace and blessings. I'm glad that you've recovered and long may it continue.
Yeah, man, we're better than COVID, man.
Likewise.
Yeah, we kick that.
No,
to
we
the
smell
curb.
better anyway.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself.
Alrighty.
One love, family. Bye bye.
Blessings, people. Blessings.
All right.
Put your money in the pan.
Price.
Kindred Spirit, Ebony Harmony, Brother S, thank you for lending your mental forces to a very interesting topic once again.
And
thank you very much.
Thank you for your wonderful hosting.
A pleasure, panelists.
Thank you, panelists.
And until the next time, walk good. Take care, everyone.
Bye, brother and sister.
Be blessed.
Stay safe. Stay blessed.
Peace and blessings. I'm glad that you've recovered and long may it continue.
Yeah, man, we're better than
Alright.
COVID, man.
Likewise.
Yeah, we
Bye-bye.
kick that.
No,
to
we
the
smell
curb.
better anyway.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself.
Alrighty.
One love, family. Bye bye.
Blessings, people.
All
Blessings.
right.
Organize, sit down, reason and talk.
ORT is a Glover Media production.
Included below are related links to this discussion. Please share, comment, and subscribe. And remember, talk the thing.